Hello, everyone. Welcome to episode 172 of the J Situation Podcast. I'm recording this on August 1st, 2023. Welcome back, friends. Yeah, goodness gracious. How are all you folks doing on this first day of August? No, if you're a time traveler, you would think that. So I'll repeat. How are you doing on this second day of August? I hope you're doing well. I'm doing great, actually. I just returned from a much-needed vacation, probably one of the best vacations I've ever taken in my life, I have to say. It's not. I guess it's not only the location. The location was nice, but it wasn't really that. It was just the timing and the time spent. So the time at which the vacation occurred and the time spent on the vacation was key, and it was a very clutch scenario, and it was, I think, one of the greatest times. I only worked for a little bit just to put out some quick fires here and there, but other than that, completely relaxed. I had a blast, a wonderful time, really good for the old noggin. Yeah, for the head, for the mind. Mental health is pretty important. I tell you what, a good vacation can sometimes be just the reset you need to keep on trucking, depending on, how your life's going. I do encourage folks, a lot of young professionals talk to me on social media there and things like that. A lot of young technical professionals like engineers and stuff. I try to tell folks, make sure to take some time for yourself. It's not only the engineers, all the busy folks working, all of you folks out there listening, make sure to take time for yourself, because you're no good to anybody unless you're able to keep up. So give some good time give some good me time to yourself every once in a while. So speaking of trucking, and keep on trucking. Yeah, we shall keep on trucking. I have some neat stuff to speak with you about today on this episode. It's actually quite a bit. I have a neat article I'll be publishing this week for you folks. We'll talk a little bit about that. Also, a lot of new companies and products are entering the space. And so I wanted to mention a sort of unique one I'm kind of stoked about. So I'll have a topic on that. And then finally, I just wanted to give a quick summary outlook of ongoing activities this year. I think, now that we're in August, I think it's worth mentioning that as far as a forecast for all you folks, all you members of the Research Cooperative. I think it's important to give you a kind of a state of practice update, a state of the research update, as it were. And I think that's what we'll cover, okay? So I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to give some quick words about the gracious sponsors that make this show possible, and then we'll get on with it, all right? Okay. And these guys have been clutch lately. The J Situation Podcast is proudly sponsored by Legion Athletics. That's right. They're a dedicated sponsor of the podcast, the entire effort. And just like I was saying a second ago, I am a firm believer of a sound mind and a sound body. Okay, I love that phrase. And physical activity is important, and it doesn't matter. It could be strength sports, cycling, martial arts, any activity that expresses the beauty of human strength. I'm here for it, all right? And participating in those activities is paramount for all people in all stages of life, okay? So that means when you're busy, you may need help not only fitting those activities into your schedule and prioritizing them, you might need some help supplementing with nutrients you need to actually recover, to build those good habits. You are no good unless you can be consistent. Nothing you do, exercise, sports, anything is worth doing without consistency, okay? You got to do it all the time if you want to be good at it. And Legion Athletics can help. They have whey protein, pre-workout, post-workout. I want to say it's everything you need, but it might not be everything you need. But they do have a lot, okay? Visit legionathletics.com. There's a link in the show notes, code word PewScience, to save 20% off your first order. And if you keep using the code, you get double loyalty points. You end up getting a net 10% off everything going forward using that code, okay? So get strong. It's important. And this podcast is also sponsored by Top Gun Range Houston. That's right. It's been a minute since I talked with them. I was on vacation. Man, that Kyle is a manager down there in Houston at their range, and they are such good folks, and it's such a high quality range. If you're in Houston, if you're just visiting, they're worth checking out. They have a 15-lane indoor shooting range. They have the largest firearm rental fleet in the state of Texas. You can rent pistols and rifles and shotguns and machine guns, and it's really cool. And just for me personally, I am a sucker for a good pistol. And when I can demo them to kind of see what new is out there, places like Top Gun are just right up my alley for that. I've talked to you guys before about a place in College Station I used to go a lot when I was in engineering school there. And, Top Gun Range, it kind of reminds me of a modern version of that sometimes. When I think about that, and I visited those guys, we did a Pew Science Day at the range. We're going to do another one later this year probably, okay? So check them out. Check out their inventory, their rental inventory at topgunrange.com. You can find them on Instagram at Top Gun Range, okay? So check them out. This podcast is also brought to you by High-End Armament Technologies. That's right, a dealer of exactly that, high-end arms and accessories. Yeah, they got significant longevity in the machine gun game, the NFA game, significant expertise in night vision, thermal optics, infrared sighting systems, not just selling the stuff, but actually using the stuff, which is pretty important. If you're having trouble locating something that's rare, I encourage you to contact High-End Armament. Okay, Robert and his crew are gonna do their best to find it, and they usually go above and beyond in every case I've dealt with them about. So it's crazy, okay? You know what? Also, I was actually talking to Robert the other day, right before I went on my vacation, and we were talking about something, and he's like, hey, don't take this the wrong way, but I've talked to your wife about this. And I was like, excuse me? And then I remembered that, like, my wife was trying to get me something for my birthday, and she had called Robert about it. And, like, she later told me that she had called him to talk to him about it, but, like, I had forgotten we had that conversation, so that we had to laugh. Anyway, check them out at highendarms.com, on Instagram at highendarms, and they even have a Facebook page, which is also High End Arms. I hope they can help you folks out if you need it, okay? Tell them Jay sent you. Also, this episode of the podcast is proudly sponsored by Silencer Shop. That's right. You can use their kiosk, do your fingerprints and photos electronically, and in turn, you cut down on errors. You simplify your silencer purchasing process. It's pretty cool. They have a money-back guarantee. It's kind of rare. There's no transfer fees. There's no paperwork errors, and it's just you and your silencer with no drama. It truly is silencer ownership simplified. So, go check out the folks at Silencer Shop. Some good people there. There are coupon codes in the show notes. Okay, check out True Shot Gun Club out of Arizona. There's a link there. Code word Pew Science. Magpul, PSTEN. Buy a lot of mags. Use that code to save actual cash off of your order. Okay. Also, the Legion stuff, the Legion code, if you forgot it, is in the show notes too. Okay. And most of all, the most important sponsor of this entire effort, and something that I think is growing leaps and bounds, super proud of, is Pew Science. Okay, pushing the silencer industry forward one test at a time. Pew Science makes this podcast happen. Okay, you can visit pewscience.com for the suppression rating. It's the simplest and most accurate hearing safe rating for your suppressed small arms. It's based on true human inner ear response from the entire gunshot, from before combustion takes place all the way until all the combustion is gone. And Pew Science is the home of the silencer sound standard. There are 7 sections, and it contains the most in-depth and accurate silencer data and analysis in the world. Okay, you can check it out on pewscience.com. Created it for you. That's why it's there. And you can support this podcast. You can support Pew Science. You can support all the testing that's done by joining with a membership at pewscience.com. There's a donate feature on the review page and the podcast page. All the memberships, the donations, they make this run. Okay, so we do appreciate that. But I do understand, with this looming recession that they claim is going to happen someday, something that's free and doesn't cost you anything. You can give this podcast a great rating on Spotify or iTunes or anything like that. Give us 5 stars. Let folks know that silencers and guns are awesome. Let's normalize the use of suppressed small arms worldwide. Can we do that, please? Can we do me that favor and normalize the use of suppressed small arms? Wouldn't that be good for everybody? It'd be good for me. It'd be good for you too. Okay, we got 3 topics for you today. Topic 1, welcome back. Well, what a better way to kick off August than with a new sound signature review? That's right. Something a little different for you folks this week, actually, but a long time coming. Yeah, I think you folks will get a kick out of it. I think you'll get a kick out of this one. That's topic 1. Topic 2, the silencer industry is evolving. It is. There are so many new manufacturers all the time. And a lot of folks are using Pew Science for performance testing and analysis. It's pretty cool. And another company was made public recently for the civilian market. It's called Combat Application Technologies, CAT. It's interesting, right? Yeah, interesting times. So we'll kind of talk a little bit more about this. That's something that caught my attention and should have caught yours as well. Topic 3, it's an action-packed 2023, I think. And I think that action-packed year will continue. What we got on the docket? We got legacy model testing. We got new hosts. We got new silencers, new companies. So thanks for your enthusiasm about the Pew Science Silencer Sound Standard. And it is important to note that all of you listening, and even some of you that are not, have made this a reality. Okay? It's important for you guys to know that, I think. Okay? Topic 1. Let's see if I can get my audio recorder out here. I got to shake off the cobwebs, guys. I've been gone for a week. Topic 1 at a time of 11 minutes and 53 seconds. Okay. Just 1 second. He was gone forever. He left us. No. Topic 1, welcome back. Yeah, what a better way to kick this off, I think. A new sound signature review this week. Yeah, something a little different. Now, it is going to be different, trust me. Now, full disclosure, I have to make a confession. I am still working on this article, and it is really long. It actually might be the longest article I have ever published on the website so far. And it's like, oh, he's going to come back from vacation and do this. What was I thinking? I should have started small. Should have ramped up. No, that's not my style. I'll just go all in. No, the member version of the article will be the full version, of course. And the free version will still be cool, but it is going to be way shorter. Way shorter. This is something I have wanted to do for you guys for a very long time, and the stars aligned for me to get all the testing done, truck through all the analysis, produce all the graphics, sit down, organize it all. It's actually a pretty huge effort and something that needed to be done for the industry, I think. And when this is all said and done, I think people are going to reference this for quite some time. I do think that. I think that probably for all of you silencer nerds out there, for all you long-time silencer people who have been in this game for a very long time, you're going to see this, and it is going to provide you with one of the best reference points ever. Okay? And dare I say, perhaps put to bed some speculation that folks have wondered about for a long time. Yeah, I do think that. Yeah. This is a long time coming. Now, are all of you going to be thrilled? Of course not. It wouldn't be a Pew Science drop if it made everyone happy. What good would that be? I mean, how fun would that be? It wouldn't be that fun. No. Is this for the true OGs while still being very applicable to the new silencer consumer? Absolutely. I do think that's true. I think no matter who you are, I think this is going to help you. And I did feel it was my duty to do this as Pew Science. Going further without this publication, I think would be irresponsible for the state of practice in general. So I took it upon myself to make it happen. And I will say, and I'm going to go on record, a ton of Pew Science members wanted it too. So it wasn't just me. This isn't just like one of Jay's crazy reviews. This is actually something that quite a lot of people wanted to happen. And there's some people to thank that helped make it happen, but we'll just do that later. Okay? And there's even members of the general public that wanted this to happen. So I know this is an important review. Okay? So buckle up for this week's data, because even if you aren't familiar with the silencer, I promise that you will at least have heard of it before. And if not, I'm going to need you to take a lap. Okay? Like, there's really, at this point, no excuse for you not to understand what the silencer is. So you don't have to confess it to me if you don't know what it is when it drops. You don't have to out yourself, but just know that I know that you know that you should know about it. Okay? No, I'm stoked for this one, guys. And it's a lot of work. But again, it's one of those important things we just needed to get done. So we're doing it. Pew Science, baby. Okay. Topic 2, at a time of 16 minutes and 6 seconds. Okay. Yeah, this is probably going to be a short episode today, guys. Again, I haven't finished the article I'm writing yet, so the podcast suffers. Just kidding, but we do have to rob Peter to pay Paul sometimes. Topic 2, the silencer industry is evolving. So many new manufacturers all the time. A lot of folks using Pew Science for performance testing, for in-depth analysis. And just announced this week, another new company was made public this week for the civilian market. It just happened. It was Monday, right? What's today? Tuesday? Yeah, it was yesterday. Combat Application Technologies, CAT. Okay, they abbreviated CAT. Interesting times now to see this too. I just wanted to talk about this because some people might not understand what's going on industry-wide, and I like to sometimes check in with you folks to give you kind of like a state of the industry talk. And I'll just give you the Pew Science perspective, okay? And I'll see, maybe that'll be useful for you. So when I look at all this, I tell you, if I had a nickel for every new silencer company that popped up, I would have a lot of nickels. And frankly, a lot of the folks popping up, they approach Pew Science for testing. They do. We've had some great test programs this year, and some of them have results that have actually been published on the website. You listening, you have been able to see plenty of those fruits. You've had client testing published this year from you saw it kicked off with CGS. Remember the SCI 6 at the beginning of the year. You saw stuff from Otter Creek. You saw stuff from Maxim Defense. You saw stuff from Aero Precision, from Huxworks, from Able Company. These are all these things I'm naming. These are literally contracts for professional services rendered, of which the client released their work product to the public. All of those. And all of you listening, whether you're a Pew Science member or not, you benefited from that. You saw that's all public. And I can tell you, there's a lot more in the works behind the scenes, professional services wise, than that stuff. Okay? And there's a ton of services being performed right now behind the scenes of amazing things, and it's so cool, and it's really cool to be seeing all of this stuff happen. And so me being able to show all of this to you too, it's like a double-edged awesomeness, right? It's just like another level of great. It compounds. And so this keeps going on, and some folks have been doing a lot of in-depth evaluations with Pew Science, and some new companies in the space, the way they work, they're just starting third-party evaluation with Pew Science directly and immediately as soon as they enter the space. As soon as they let anyone know they exist, they're starting at Pew Science. They're coming directly before products are launched, and a lot of times we don't discuss these companies because the performance is largely unknown. We don't know like what's going to happen. So everyone's like, we don't even want to talk about it. It could just, some things can just crash and burn, right? And a lot of times folks that are launching things, it's super confidential for quite some time. That's another case where you might not hear anything. And then there's other cases where sometimes folks, they just don't even publish anything. Actually, some folks that come to Pew Science, they don't publish anything. The reason a lot of folks come to the Pew Science laboratory is they are doing R&D for reasons that they doesn't concern the civilian market at all. Okay, and the test reports that come out of Pew Science, they end up going to their customers in other arenas. And you guys that listening, you just don't see any of it, and that's just how it is. All right, that's just how it is. And in fact, it is funny. Like some people think that's strange, but a lot of test labs do that. Okay, they do. A lot of test labs evaluate products you never see, and Pew Science, it's no different. It's not no different at all. There are literally places in the world right now that do what Pew Science does, but you never see it. Okay, I know you're getting impatient because I'm not talking about the topic here, but I trust me, I'm building to something. Let me say that again. There are a lot of places in the world that do what Pew Science does, but you never see it. They're sort of dark labs. They're there, but like, where are they? You know what I mean? All they're places where things happen and folks get the results and they do things with the results and they don't get displayed for consumption by everyone. Because guess what? Not everything that happens in the world is your business. And that applies. Not everything that happens in the world is my business. Okay, there do exist things that happen that not everyone knows about, and in this age of social media, I know that can frustrate you. but the reality is there are secrets. Okay, just like you don't have someone come to your door at your house and you don't like give them your balance sheet for your home and like here's my checkbook. You want to help me? Well, that's a really antiquated reference. Here's my account password for my bank account. You want to look over the finances with me and the wife tonight? No, you wouldn't tell a solicitor at the door that when he's trying to sell you like Girl Scout cookies or something or whatever. You know what I mean? It's like not everything is everyone's business. And sometimes people have to be comfortable with not knowing everything. You understand? But with that said, you got to remember, that's one of the reasons I started Pew Science, wasn't it? To bring the type of information that you would never see to the masses. Okay? And I think it's something I don't talk about a lot like that. I don't think I put this in that perspective for you very much. Pew Science is meant to give you things from a lab that you would never get. You'd never get them. It's for you. And it exists because I thought it would be important for you to have. So you have Pew Science data not because companies come to Pew Science to test silencers at Pew Science. You have it because I decided you could. Because Pew Science could exist without you. Because it would just be a private laboratory. Okay? But the Pew Science effort as a whole, to run it the way it's run like this, it's a cooperative. You see what we had to do? Delicate balance. A lot of people don't understand that. The only reason this public effort succeeds is it had to be by the people for the people. Now, you keep all this in mind, right? and you start to think of analogs. You start to think of analogs that are adjacent in the space, but might not be the same. But you think of things that are similar. I always do this because it helps me. It gives me a better perspective in business and in the industry. So let's talk about something else that's similar to Pew Science in that way. What I just described. Sometimes, and keep in mind it is very rare, trust me. Sometimes there are companies that do the same type of thing for a consumer market that Pew Science did. Same type of thing. They bring something to it that otherwise wouldn't be there. Okay? What are the motivations for someone to do that? Right? Because I'm describing something that's a little crazy, right? Conceptually, when you think about it. What are the motivations for that? I mean, now, for me, I can only speak for myself, right? I can tell you all of my motivations for bringing Pew Science are, they have to do with, first of all, it's one of the reasons is for the love of the game. The long-standing reason that I've given you was that I needed data because everything was a mess and there was nowhere to get anything that I needed. There was no way to understand the performance of silencers because no one had done anything like this before. So I thought it needed to be created. And when I discovered it worked, I decided, well, gosh, you're going to need to have this as well. You know, I've talked about this ad nauseum at length. So you should know those motivations by now if you've listened to this podcast for all these years and you followed the research. So yeah, again, I can only speak for myself in that respect. I can only speak for myself. But I will say this. We, as an industry, over the years, we have heard a lot of big performance claims being made. Okay, we have heard a lot of big performance claims being made. And these performance claims are being made by companies that the fact of the matter is it never pans out. And I mean, there's been tons of companies over the years where they say they can do X, Y, Z, and you end up shooting that silencer and you're like, this is ridiculously not living up to the expectations that you gave. Okay. The collective we've heard a lot of big promises about silencer technology coming or maybe being sold to consumers that, you know, we hear all these promises about we're getting all this whiz-bang stuff, and somehow it only gets to law enforcement or military, you know, or maybe once in the blue moon, you know, some like fancy dealer on Instagram or something will or fancy like influencer or somebody, you know, someone with a crazy connection, they can get the silencers and it ends up being, you know, for all intents and purposes, it's vaporware for everybody else. It's like there's like one or two of them. You see it like some like, you know, farm review site has a silencer or like someone has one and you're just like, cool, I've heard that's awesome. That would be really nice. But for me, it doesn't exist. It's vaporware. It's like something that's fictitious. And it's frustrating. It's frustrating when that happens. I sympathize with you because it's happened to me. It makes people jaded. And frankly, it when you really start thinking about it, other emotions come up. You think about things like, well, they're elitist. You think about the people who have this. Well, they're elitist. These companies, they're giving it to people that they feel should have them. But I, as a common man, I shouldn't have them. You know. And really, at the end of the day, it kind of shows some of the companies they're not focusing on the civilian customer. They're just not. Okay. Some of the companies, it seems like they only want to cater to law enforcement or military, and it goes against every single aspect of a free populace in the United States, really, that we abide by, really, in this community, I think. You know, I abide by that. You know that, you know, you listen to this podcast, you probably do too. You know, philosophically, you want to think, what a cop can have it, I can't. You know what I mean? And you go so far down into this, you get a little bit political, or you get a little bit, you you get a little bit stronger in the rhetoric, and you start to think things like, well, this is anti-freedom. Yeah, I'm not relax. I'm not trying to rile you up, but you understand. One could make the argument that folks that abide by philosophies in which only certain parties can get stuff, you could label it on a spectrum, all the way from being elitist all the way to, oh, well, you're anti-freedom. You can use extreme language, right? So, and if you use that language, I don't think that position is necessarily unreasonable, frankly. It goes against everything Pew Science stands for. You know what I mean? So, and I mean, not to be too idealistic, if you look at this in a pragmatic way, there are sometimes production restrictions, and there are reasons why certain systems are only sold to law enforcement or military, and there's business reasons, and there's things like that. I get that, but I'm more talking about this in a general sense, okay? So now that I'm 20 minutes or whatever I am into this topic, I was made aware of CAT, Combat Application Technologies, okay? So this CAT thing, it's a bit unique in that, sure, the CAT brand that you've seen things about there. I think there's a press release I saw. You saw some posts by some folks about it on social media. It's a bit unique in that, like, sure, the CAT brand is new. Okay, fine. But the folks behind the brand that you saw announced, they're not new. Like, these aren't people that are just like born yesterday. And I was trying to think about. I thought about this long and hard how I was going to explain this to you properly. There are entities in the world that develop technologies for government entities, okay? And I know this might make you upset, but I know that a lot of people have a brother who has a friend whose uncle is a high-speed operator, secret squirrel, Navy SEAL Team 1000, killbot, destroyer person, ultra elite universal soldier, Jean-Claude Van Damme. Like, I get it. And I understand that those people know exactly what silencers and weapons are used by these squirrels, and they are the smartest people on the internet. Okay? No. In reality, guys, they don't know anything. These people you see in social media comments and gun forums and stuff talking about their uncle's brothers or their friend's brother's uncle, Navy SEAL, that they know about who uses what. No, they actually do not know anything about what they're saying. And I am here to tell you that sometimes things exist that you don't know about. Just like I was talking about before. I'm sorry, that is real. And there is no way for me to convince you of that without just telling you. There's nothing, because you cannot show someone this publicly. You just have to understand the nature of reality. Okay? And this is true, what I'm telling you. Now, sometimes when there are things developed that work really well, once in a blue moon, and I know some folks on social media that work for defense contractors and stuff. They talk to me all the time. Shout out to you folks. Even though you're crazy, some of you are cool. You're gonna be nodding your head when I say this. Once in a blue moon, there are people involved with stuff who say, hey, you know what? This is actually pretty cool. This could definitely do well in the civilian market. And so here we are. This is the way I'm describing this to you, because this is I think this is the most relatable way to give you this information. That's CAT. CAT was literally created so that folks like you and me could buy things with technology that ordinarily you don't see. That's what it is. It's pretty cool. And am I gonna name drop right now, because I think it's meaningful to do this, because it was like one of the first things that came to mind, and someone I reached out to immediately. You know who thinks this is really cool? People like T-Rex Arms. Some of you know them, T-Rex Arms. They're actually a corporate member of Pew Science. Their company helps Pew Science out. You know Lucas at T-Rex Arms. He started that company. Remember, he sent me his own personal Knights Armament NT4 to test. Like, these guys are ride or die Pew Science. They're cool. But they're also, and again, they can be controversial sometimes, but love them or hate them, what is one of their primary mission objectives corporately? But they're a business, so besides making money, what is one of their primary mission objectives corporately that they've made known? Arm the populace, right? So what did I do? I'm a troublemaker. What did I do? I reached out to Lucas, it just in an abbreviated fashion, and I told him exactly what I told you guys. I was like, Lucas, because about CAT, because I was actually the press release was sent. I had early access to the press release, so I knew it was coming. And so I was like, you know what? I'm gonna show Lucas this. Lucas, of all the people, I'm not really in the YouTube thing. Like I like some of the YouTube guys. That's just not my thing. But I was like, if anyone is gonna want to follow this, it's gonna be Lucas. So I reached out to him personally. I said, pay attention to these guys. Just trust me. And I was like, these guys want to arm civilians with cool next generation technology. It's cool. And Lucas is cool. He actually, I reached out to, it was both him and one of his executives at T-Rex, and they immediately responded about it. But yeah, that's basically the backstory about CAT. I know that you're wanting a lot more information from me, right? I'll give you some more that I can, but yeah, they're making it happen. A lot of people are involved to make it a reality, and the stuff is coming. It's coming later this year. It's interesting. I'll tell you some of my observations, what I've seen, just my observations. Looking at this organization, they're a little more aggressive than typical companies in the space, and I think, in my opinion, I think it's probably because their global R&D background. They've definitely been watching. They're pretty nimble with their engineering teams. I've noticed there's not a lot of wasting time, which is something I kind of immediately saw. There's not a lot of wasting time. They don't play games. There's no agendas, things like this. It's really, and you got to remember, I'm not pointing fingers at anyone in the science industry when I say this, but I will say I've dealt with a lot of different companies. I've seen things that are just like they waste, just time wasting in games. These guys don't. This is not really a. I mean, yeah, they're making silencers, but it's not a silencer company. This is a defense company. Okay, they do more things than just silencers, and so it's one of those like literally like put up or shut up type of situations. It's kind of crazy, and so excuse me. It's interesting to see folks come from an environment where something like a Pew Science evaluation is not a second thought. Like, that's not, like, of all the things like they're concerned with, it's not sending stuff to Pew Science. Like they're like okay, like that's not like, it's not like it doesn't it's not out of the ordinary, right? because they're not doing things the way you see most companies do them in the United States. And so when I see the way they behave and how they're executing things, to me it's refreshing. I'm like, that's cool, dude. Like I'm like, it's just like, for me, I thought it was a big enough deal when I saw it announced. I thought it was a big enough deal I feel like I had to talk about it in the podcast. That's why I wanted to mention it. I mean, really, with Cat, you guys are getting stuff that's honestly pretty crazy, and I'm being very careful with what I'm saying right now. Obviously, you can tell I don't want to use buzzwords here right now. Okay, I'm not trying to use buzzwords to describe anything. Do not, if you know me, that's not how I operate. I will save that for future technical discussions. That's okay. So, because what do you know about Pew Science? It's put up or shut up. It's performance, science, and that's it. Okay, so I'll spare you hyperbole. Okay, yeah, we'll save the hyperbole for when it's deserved. Okay, so you know exactly why I'm excited. When I'm excited, you know when. Okay, so all I can say right now is buckle up, Buttercup. I think this is the best time to be a science consumer in the history of my lifetime. Right now, and for me, there are levels to explore we seldom reach. Okay, I'll say it like that. And one more thing. There's actually something I saw. They actually mentioned this publicly, so this is something that I can tell you right now. It looks like they are initially going to go hub pattern. I think that's in the press release, right? Yeah, they're gonna go hub pattern, which is that 1.375 inch. It's that universal back end, right? At least for their rifle stuff, for the rifle silencers, they're making these rifle silencers. And you think about this, and I saw that, and I was like, okay. When I first found out about that, I was like, So, you hear about that. I just got done telling you kind of where the world these guys come from, and you might say, why? Why would you even do that? And it's, again, even if it wouldn't be my choice, they're literally doing it for the consumer market. It's almost like overtly for that. Like, consumers in the United States have somehow been conditioned to want a hub back end on a dang rifle silencer. That universal back end. For some reason, there is a contingent of people who are just they're like stuck to this thing. You guys, you keep wanting it, even though there's plenty of technical reasons why it's not optimal. But hey, I get it. Sometimes you got a lot of mounts. You want to use your own mount, whatever. I get it, dude. You don't have to convince me of why you like it. Whatever. So, I want to say these guys probably have mount solutions too. So, I think one thing to keep in mind, you see this hub thing, they're definitely for consumers if they're doing that. One thing to keep in mind, if you weren't already convinced, I think we'll talk more about this later. One thing to think about is that these guys, they're not using hub for their government and law enforcement stuff. Okay. The law enforcement and government guys, they don't want a hub mount. Come on, that doesn't make sense. Okay, they want direct thread, or they want like a dedicated mount for the silencer. They don't want to be fooling with a secondary tolerance stack and different joints. Dude, they don't want to deal with that. Okay, so just I'm planting that seed with you because I have the benefit of being able to kind of look at this 10,000 foot view with a lot of knowledge about all kinds of different companies, and I see what I see a lot of consumers come to me with questions, so I see what everyone says they want and what they actually want and what they do and what they don't. And so when I saw that hub mount in this press release, I was like, okay. But then I also saw they're like, but that's only for consumers. We're doing our law enforcement with direct thread. I was like, oh. I was like, huh. I was like, they're literally doing something just for consumers, and they're telling the consumers that it's just for them. And it's like, at first, some people might be thinking, oh, well, they're just trying to butter up the consumers to make them happy. It's like, no, they're actually telling you, like, you want something stupid here. Here's your dumb stuff. You can have it because you wanted it. It's like when a kid like yells and yells and yells for like something, and like you're so tired of it. You're like, you know what? Fine, here. And you give it to the kid, and he's like, huh. And he's like, he's not even that happy anymore because he doesn't even remember why he was yelling for it anymore. I'm not calling consumers kids, but you know what I mean? Like, it's like, I see it as that. I'm like, huh. I'm like, they're actually like just giving you what you wanted. Okay, whatever, you know? So who knows? Maybe it won't always be hub. Maybe they give you a hub and then it's not a hub later. I don't know. Who knows, right? But I think like, all just being serious, like just in all seriousness, like all joking aside, I think probably them doing that does show commitment to actual civilians, which again, I do think is pretty refreshing coming from an entity like this. So there you go. Yeah. And then I was seeing what else I was going to say, because I promised so many people are asking me about cats, so I wanted to talk more about it. What was one of the major questions I got? I'm trying to think of all the questions I got from everybody. Oh, right. So the press release was by CGS, right? Yeah. So you know, CGS, they're a Pew Science client, good guys. They make incredible silencers. They're cool. They are doing the distribution for law enforcement and government customers for CAT in the U.S. And what CAT needed was, and here's the thing, it's like, apparently, even when you're an R&D organization, like, you know, that does stuff, apparently you still need administrative red tape taken care of. So what they needed was, they needed someone to put the serial numbers on the silencers in the U.S. And, yeah. So, I think that's that. It's like, yeah, who can engrave these, and who's trusted enough to do this? Who's like has the same like level of thought and thoughtfulness for what's going on in the space? Who can respect the both the government side and the civilian side? Because you know CGS does things like that all the time. They're very multifaceted, and there's just, kind of a small skunkworks type organization. They're like, who can do that? And I think it was a good fit, and I think that's what it says in the press release. I mean, it's funny. A lot of people, I was reading commentary on social media. A lot of people think, oh, this press release has a lot of buzzwords in it. I'm like, not really. It actually, if you read that press release, and maybe I can link that. That's what I'll do. I'll link it in the podcast topic for you, so you can. It's a hyperlink. I think if you read that press release after hearing what I just said, you'll see it's pretty straightforward. There's no mystery. It's pretty like, yep, that's what it is. So yeah, I thought that was interesting. I was like, I didn't even know you could do that. I was just thinking like the different ways that, like, because you know how like sometimes we get silencers, and they're like, you get your, well, okay, let me put my SOT hat on for a second. Like, you know how you get a silencer as an SOT, you get the Form 3 back, or you send a Form 3 and you're looking through your inventory on e-forms, and you look at like the manufacturer, and you're like, and then, or like you're doing it like an ATF audit, and you're looking through and you got to make sure your books match what's engraved on the silencer, and you look at it and you're like, that's not who made this silencer. It's like a good example is like the dead air thing, right? Like, I've seen the stuff engraved on dead air silencers. I've seen everything from dead air to KGM to BPI to whatever. Dead air. I've seen dead air written on there. Dead air never made a silencer. They've never manufactured a thing. You know what I mean? And it's like, so you need to understand, it's not as cut and dry. But what is important is that in order to like actually make things happen, you have to follow certain rules. And you know what I mean? And so I think that's why I bet you it'll just be, you'll probably just see CGS on the silencers. But they're not CGS silencers, right? So I think it's the same type of thing. So, just like with a twist. So just to have it facilitated, I think so. I'm going through my list. I'm going through my list of questions. Yeah, I think it's pretty much all I can talk about for now. I don't know if you see them. I don't know how active they're going to be on social. I saw some kind of cool. I was following their kind of cool animations on their social media account. If you see the cat folks, well, you're not going to see them. But if you see them hang out on social media, give them some props. I'd say. I think, and this is just Jay talking to you right now. To me, dude, it takes some major balls to do what they are doing, and doing this for consumers the right way is, I think, something to applaud. It is something to applaud. So I mean, me personally, just me, Jay, like forget Pew Science, just me, I'm gonna be rooting for them because I've been around silencers for a very long time, and it is extremely rare to see something like this happen. So I'm gonna be rooting for them when the industry grows to accommodate innovators in the space. I think it's something for all of us to celebrate. I do. Okay, so that's my personal opinion on cat. From what I see, from what I've observed, what I've been told, and you know what? Sometimes I know more than you, and I'm sorry. But this is what I'm talking about today. I hope you take this discussion as I said it, and if you have any questions, shoot me a DM, dude. You know I'll talk to you if you ask me a question. Whatever. Shoot me an email, shoot me a DM. We'll see. We're all gonna watch it. I mean, they put some dates. They put some dates in their press release, so clock's ticking. We'll see. Okay. All right. I hope that was informative. I know there was like 6,000 people who asked me to talk about that, so I hope I did it justice in the way I knew how. Okay. Topic 3, at a time of 52 minutes and 34 seconds. Okay. Action Pack 2023. It's going to continue. I think so. Dude, there's actually some really dope things I've done that I want to show you too. Some crazy legacy model testing. We tested a lot of new silencers, new companies. Some crazy stuff, I think. I think your enthusiasm to keep this public effort going is pretty dope. It's funny. I didn't plan on talking about this, and I'll just give you a little teaser. It's funny. Pew Science being, it's like a reverse of like what you would see happen. Like you would think that like just like some global entity like we just talked about would come and do something to the consumer market. Instead, you had me start Pew Science, build the entire thing for consumers, and then like branch out into other stuff. And isn't that like it's like a reverse? It's just like, I've just been thinking, just a lot of this is occupied my mind. You got to keep in mind, I was on vacation for a week on a beach, so I had a lot of time to think. Okay. So I came back into this. I'm just like, my mind is completely like reset. So I'm like, I'm just thinking in a little bit of a different way, a little bit more refreshed way. So in addition to the cat stuff I just talked about, which is wild, it's a wild situation. There are actually several Pew Science clients doing really great things, and I like to brag on them. I just like to brag on Pew Science clients because I'm so proud of them. They're just really great folks making interesting silencers in all parts of the market. And there are actually a lot of different cartridges being evaluated on different host weapons. And so I'm sure it's going to get pretty wild this year. And I know I just said this, and I say it all the time. You're in the golden age right now. it's about to move into the platinum age. Okay? What a time to be alive, baby. And I think to myself, would this have happened in this way without Pew Science for you? And you know my answer to that. You can decide your own answer. Okay, I'm not going to answer for you. And I think one of the reasons Pew Science has been so successful and the industry has evolved from it is the ever-present quest and thirst for innovation from consumers. We're none of us are satisfied at all. And I talk to a lot of you. I know all of you are hungry. You're all hungry. And really, now that you and me, and now that we see what's possible, all of us are just wanting to see how much further it can go. Really, how can you be satisfied when you start to learn more about how silencers work? How do you be satisfied once you know more? It's a problem, right? We're chasing stuff, isn't it? I'll take responsibility. I have created a problem. Okay. Here's an example. Remember when you first saw the Flow 556K data, and you were like, "What? You can do that at the ear on the untuned Mark 18?" Remember all those questions we had? I had the same questions as you. I was like, wait a minute, you can do that on the untuned Mark 18? What? How? And then again, there's plenty of examples. Remember when you saw the resilient data, the resilient suppressors data with their RSP on a pistol and their RS9 on the subguns? And then you saw the shooter's ear numbers and you were like, what? Seriously? I'm just recounting literal documented history of surprise and awe by me and you and everyone else. And then, remember when we saw the old Surefire, the SOCOM 556 RC2, a decade-old silencer? Remember when we saw it wipe the floor with a lot of newer stuff, like right out of the gate? Like just tested with Pew Science funding. I was just like, I'm going to test the RC2. What? Hey, Surefire, hold my beer. Watch this. And I literally tested like every Surefire rifle silencer ever. All the RC2s on every host. Remember when we saw the RC2 wipe the floor with a lot of newer stuff? And one of the reasons that it did it was that it was literally designed for the Mark 18. All of these things that both you and I have seen have influenced the way we think about silencers, even if subconsciously. You know, your brain has literally been changed. My brain, your brain, everyone's brain. Because up until now, you did not really have a feel for how everything stacked up. You didn't have a feel for it without emotion, okay? This is like the Terminator. You understand? You know I love Arnold movies. This is like the Terminator. You can't reason with it. You can't bargain with it. All right? It's not happy or sad. This is Pew Science. It's a laboratory. It's here to ensure we have a record of the history of silencer performance worldwide, published in a public research cooperative pedigree. And that mission continues. Dude, I've seen stuff. I saw, even going back to that cat thing, I saw they even mentioned it in a social media comment. Some guy was like, I don't remember who it was, whatever it was. I saw it like it was today. Someone was like, "Is this like? Do you have any like flow through stuff?" And remember on this podcast, I've talked about how like flow through that's a Huxworks trademark. They're like, "Do you have any like flow through efforts on the cat guy, the Spectre's Cat, the Instagram account? I think it's Spectre's Cat at their guy on social media was like, well, no, we don't have flow through. That's a Huxworks thing, but we have something called surge bypass." I saw that. I was like, oh my God. Like, you don't even have to, I don't even care if you know about silencers or not. when you hear these terms, you know exactly already what it says it's doing. There is not one listener listening to this podcast right now that if I told you there was a silencer that had a technology called surge bypass, like, there's not one person listening to this podcast that would hear that and be like, I don't know what that is. What does that mean? No. You're going to be like, oh, are you telling me that you could quickly vent and relieve pressure stagnation in a way that would affect flow in a bypass fashion? Is that what that says? Oh, I don't know. But you understand what I'm saying? Your brain has been changed. My brain, your brain, everyone's brain. Without emotion. We are now, every time we look at silencers, I don't care if it's Surefire, been around for a long time. I don't care if it's Cat, brand new company no one's ever heard of in the United States. I don't care. I don't care who it is. This is performance-based discussion from the inception of the discussion, from the inception of announcements of companies and silencers from old companies and new companies. Immediately, there's already there. It's not even talking about, well, what are you going to call it? You know, there's nothing about that. It's okay. What does it do, and how does it do it? That and that is the new reality, and it's here to stay, baby. How about them apples? And how cool is that? Because all of you helped create that environment. All you had to do was pay attention to all this research and make it happen. And we did it publicly. By the people, for the people. All right? That's what I'm saying. So stay safe out there, friends. I do encourage you to have a good week. Stay tuned for a pretty cool article in a couple days. Actually, for you, I guess if you're listening to this on Wednesday, it'll be the next day for you. There's a ton of data and analysis in this article you're going to get. If you are a Pew Science member, you are going to get so much bonus content. It's going to blow your mind, dude. It is going to blow your mind. You're gonna be like, oh my God. Anyway, I think it's coming Thursday. I'm going to try my hardest. I'm going to give it a little college try for that one. I did definitely bit off more than I could chew this first week back, but hey, what are you going to do? Rome was not built in a day, and nothing worth doing is easy, and all kinds of cliches. We shall see. Be ready. Take care, guys. I'll talk with you folks again soon. All right, bye.